Bum, 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 ba-da-da-da-ba-da. Oops. I'm Matti Vali, aka Hedonistic Actor, and the second season of Mystery Game Box, where I review random video games, has just concluded. So I'm doing one of these extra episodes to talk about some games that I chose between seasons for one reason or another not to review on my show. There are several of those kind of games, but they are still on the box, so if Lady Fortuna is favorable to them, they can still get featured in this show. That was the case with both Tesla Grad and Amazon of all games. So the first game I'm going to talk about today, I used to have it as a physical copy, but recently, like 3 weeks ago, I exchanged it for another game that I thought would be more interesting. And the game is Evolva. The game is about 4 Zeno Hunters who are these kind of space warriors who can get creatures' DNA into each other and make each other better properties, like able to shoot fire or jump higher or all the kind of that neat stuff. And the plot is what little there is, that there's some hostile biomass that is spreading throughout the planet, and the Zeno Hunter team needs to stop it. They just state what you should do in this mission, and then you just go do it. No characters or anything, just you and your team, and go kick ass. For a purchase of €3, it's alright. The music is kind of jamming, the graphics are, well, not top notch, but alright, and well, the missions are actually rather variable. There are sometimes the teams are separate, and sometimes there's more stealth, and there are boss battles, and yeah, there's a nice variation, but it wasn't really enough for me to make it raise above average. So I wanted something that would have more interesting things about it, and I exchanged this game for Evil Twin, the Cypress Chronicles, or something of that name. Another game that I once read from a magazine once, but I'll eventually see if that was worthy of an exchange. So the rest of the games I talk about today are on my digital collection. And the first one is Super Frog. It's a 2D platformer from the makers of those Worms games from 1993. There's this prince dude who is turned into a frog because some witch wanted his princess bride for some sinister reason. I'm not sure, don't do the game interesting, so I don't even know. And then Prince has to go in his frog form and kick ass. It has a very typical structure for a 2D platformer of its time. There are lots of fruits you must collect, and they create points, and when you gather enough points, then exit somewhere opens and you have to go there fast. And that's pretty much it. Levels are very maze-like. Not maze-like enough that you could get lost in them, but they're still a hassle to navigate in. And the problem is that the camera is so close and the character moves so fast. That's not an ideal combination. Just Jackrabbit suffers from that same fault as well, but that game is much better. It doesn't have as many one-hit kills. Super Frog is an important game in my collection because it was the first time when I just decided that, you know what, I don't need to complete every game in my collection. It happened because I managed to get on the final level, and there's this last stretch where this really long gap of spikes, and despite my best efforts to fly over it, it's just left short. And the gap seems to be too wide for the frog to be able to fly over it. It just couldn't be done. And I watched a walkthrough video and I noticed that in its Amiga version there's an extra switch that wasn't in the DOS version. I don't know what it does, but maybe it had some use for managing to fight the gap. Or maybe it was some kind of a maneuver that was never needed until now and the game didn't bother to explain me what it was. But I give the game this, that at some points when it's chronicled the story that how the prince frog travels from forest to castle to all kind of weird places, there were some moments that genuinely made me laugh out loud. And that's quite an impressive feat. These days you can't get Super Frog digitally anywhere, neither it's HD remake from 4 years prior, because of some music copyright reasons I guess, which by the way is a rather dope soundtrack, all things considered. Therefore I'm now a guardian of some forgotten lore that is lost in the digital space, which is also a fate that befell on the next two games, the Chronicles of Riddick Escape from Butcher Bay and its sequel Assault on Dark Athena. I never actually bought these two games. They were given for free during Good Old Games summer sale. If you bought enough stuff then you got Chronicles of Riddick games as an extra. So they are based on the Riddick movies, from which I've only seen Pitch Black, which is a rather good movie. Nothing special, but alright. And they are starring and partially written by the action star Vin Diesel, who gives this a rather convincing growth performance in the game. So it does about this space criminal who is put in a jail on the infamous Butcher's Bay. It's kind of a prequel to Pitch Black and all those two other movies. Basically you need to escape the jail but also have good connections with the other inmates and stuff. It seemed rather moody and atmospheric, and the combat system, I got used to it. But then there's this part where Riddick meets this dude in a robot suit, and I just couldn't get past it. But I was playing in an older computer that had frame rate issues and was crapping itself out at any moment, so maybe because of the low frame rate I just couldn't time it right or stuff. So I didn't play it for years, and then when I started this mystery game box, so I did pick up from the box after the Tesla Grad World of the West review. When I tried to install and play it, there was this weird error that prevented me from doing it. I wasn't sure what this was about, but even the reinstalling didn't help. Then I just had to refilm that final segment from Tesla Grad World of the West review and pick up a brand new game. I've heard they are good games, so it really bums me out that I may never get to experience them, but well, such is life. Then there's Rising Islands. It's about this girl in some undefined far Asian influenced land that is falling apart because some dude stole some magic amulet or stone or whichever, and she has to hop between dimensions to run through different coasts and get this amulet crystal pieces and stuff. It's a kind of a parkour platformer. You just go from places to places in a linear course, and from the beginning it was rather entertaining. But the longer you get, then the apparent faults in its design start to show up when the movements get more complicated and there's some latency in the movements, so it's not always that precise, and also there's barely any story there. Well, you don't really need a story in a game like this if the mechanics are at their best, and in this case they weren't, so you need something else to compensate for that, and this game didn't have it much. Rising Islands isn't terrible, but it's underwhelming and kind of forgettable. The soundtrack was nice though. The last game I'm talking about today is a freeware game, Aqua Creep. The game is made by Suits and Nooks, and it's kind of a prequel, sequel, spin-off, who knows, to his earlier works, Astro Creep, that is the same premise but in space, and like you can get that game through in 10 minutes. Aqua Creep is about this alien that they found from space, and then it possesses people, and in that game you play as the alien, and it kind of possesses people in a very violent and nasty ways. And there's the Aqua Creep, the main course of that. It has the same premise, but now they are in this subnautical research facility, and this time you play as this one guy who is trying to find out the creature, because the creature has managed to get into one person and mimic them. So it's up to you to find the creature and kill it before it kills everyone else. That's pretty much the game mechanics. You can complete the game in an hour, so there's not much content for a proper episode, potentially, but I did choose it because I voice act in it. Yeah, I'm one of the characters. I'm this Sean guy who can be rather party animal kind of type. It would have been a safe way to test if I can properly review stuff where I have had my involvement in and see what is up. But yeah, there's not much content in those games, so I probably wouldn't have able to make it into as long as an episode I want. But News recently did start some Kickstarter campaign for a game that is also based on the Aqua Creep franchise in a bigger form, so it is possible that I may return to that subject one day if the game turns out to be interesting enough. So yeah, those were those games. Thanks for tuning in. I'm planning to have some more non-video game related content here. I mean, I used to vary it a lot, but this year I focused on video game stuff. But I want this channel to have something more, something done by me, and I may do some kind of a separate announcement video about those future projects I have in mind. But if you are a Mystery Gamebox viewer, be sure to wait for the mid-November when I start the 3rd season with Perils of Man. Until then, or my next video, thanks for your time.